Hey, this is Pat, and today we're checking out the all-new SIDI Crossair X Boots. Now, the Crossair X are going to be the top-of-the-line option from the Italian manufacturer, made in Italy, coming in at the $600 price point. But this is going to be the boots that all their pro athletes are wearing and that everybody has been talking about in terms of the protection, as well as the maneuverability and the low profile within SIDI's line. Now, we all know the Crossfire boots, the Crossfire 3s are the latest editions of those. Those are a couple dollars short on this one. If you were looking at those and looking at the Crossair X's, you're just looking at a slimmer profile boot, a little bit more low profile, a little bit lighter weight. Really, the weight of these is pretty impressive when you compare them to the Crossfire 3s, or if you compare them to other boots like the Tech 7s or Tech 10s out in the market. I think SIDI is punching well above its weight class when it comes to the overall weight, with all the protections and everything like that built in. But before I get too long-winded on the features and everything like that, like I mentioned before, it is $600. You're looking at $600 in the Crossair X. There is the Crossair regular version, which is about $100 cheaper, just loses most of the protection, which I'll talk about in a little bit. On top of that, let's talk about the overall fit. I am a US 10.5 in all the shoes that I wear out there. Can usually be an EU 44 or an EU 45, but EU 44 is usually my go-to. 44 or 10.5 in these Crossair X's fits me spot on. I will say it is a little tight out of the box at the ankles. That's something that if you do have a previous ankle injury and they're a little bit larger, that's something to keep in mind, but it is a nice tight fit that will break in once you actually start wearing them. But it is a nice snug fit right out of the box and a slightly wider toe box area. I'd say it's about a normal, slightly wide overall fit when it comes to the footbed, but slightly wider than we see from other brands in the toe box, which I like. I like having that additional space in there, a little bit more movement if I want to run thicker socks on colder riding days. I have that option to do it without too much discomfort in there. But overall fit is spot on. Reference that sizing chart and you should be all set with your US to European conversion on there. But taking a look at the main construction of these Crossair X's, it's going to be a lot of TPU, a lot of fiberglass reinforcements throughout, and some synthetic, they call it the Techno Micro synthetic leather that they use on almost all their boots out there. Really abrasion resistant, really puncture proof synthetic leather that they use in all of the accent areas. But let's start down at the toe box, work our way up down here. You do have a 3D molded TPU toe box on here. I like how they're adding the grooves in. I like that they're able to cut away sections with that 3D design. They're able to cut away a lot of sections on there just to make sure that it's able to move as much as the riders need to, but it's going to be protecting the entire toe box throughout the entire front. So it is a reinforced toe cap up there. It is a 10 out of 10 on the stiffness scale, so just keep that in mind. You're not getting too much movement, but I like that they're adding the protection inside the entire toe box. Coming down the side, you do have a little bit of that synthetic leather on the sides, a little bit more TPU, and I love when I see brands using these ramps at the base, just if you have anything going right for the buckles. You want to make sure that you're protecting that lower buckle. Most importantly, that's going to be the one that typically gets hit by a lot of sticks, debris, rocks, things like that when you're out there riding. You do have a double reinforced ankle protection system that is a full ankle hinge on both sides, on the lateral side as well as on the medial side. That is where the fiberglass reinforcement is going to be coming in, just because it does have a lot of reinforcement there with the pivot zones, but it's not going to allow it to do any hyperextension or hyperflexion. It's going to protect it there, and I'll talk about those in just a second. Reinforced heel counter. I like that they have a raised lip on there. If anybody's out there doing some hardcore MX starting, you do have that in case you are heel clicking it into third gear off the line. You can rip it up and go ahead and tap it in there. I like that they added that ridge in there, but it is nice and reinforced as well. I mentioned the buckles before. You do have 4 buckles compared to the Crossair regular version that only has 3. You do have 4 running up the entire side, and it is a nylon reinforced receiver as well as the strap, but it is going to be a metal aluminum tee. We saw these on the Crossfires. It's a very reliable buckle system. I like that they use that. All the parts are typically replaceable with them, so if you do lose one, if you do break one, or if it just pops out on the trailer and you lose it, you can go ahead and replace that pretty easy, and even the receivers are replaceable at this point. That's what CDs are really known for. There's a lot of replaceable parts, less so on the Crossair X than we see with something like the Crossfire 3s, but I do like that they're still leaving some of those replaceable parts in there in case you need to do so. Looking at the front and working our way up, I mentioned Techno Micro synthetic leather running up the entire front on the bellows. One thing I want to call out is this little reinforcement piece that you see right here. That actually stops the ankle from bending too far. It's actually a physical stopper. If you don't like that, you can remove it. I like the concept of it. Again, it just reinforces the ankle's protection zone, but it also stops the buckles from slamming into each other. Now, it does tend to push in on the rider's foot. But again, if you want to remove it, you just pop off the shin plate, open it up, and there's 2 bolts inside there that you can just go ahead and remove it if you don't want to keep it on there. Running up the front, this is where we're starting to get into key differences from the Crossair regular version to the Crossair X. The regular version did not have much on shin protection. It was really built in to the inner chassis. What you're seeing here is a fully TPU shin guard up here. And the nice part is it is adjustable. I do have it already pre-adjusted on this different colored version over here. You can see it's just 3 bolt holes and 3 screws that slide over, and then they have little plugs that you can fill in. If you need a little bit more side coverage, if you're someone that maybe goes a little bit more pigeon-toed when they're actually riding, you can get that side coverage. Or if you just have larger calves and you're trying to get a little bit more space, I like that SIDI's including that for a little bit additional adjustability. Just goes a long way in there. If I open up the buckles here, that'll give us a good view at the inside. One thing I'll call out, a little bit of mesh screening to go to get some airflow flowing through on there. But then you have basically an inner booty system. Now, this isn't like an inner booty like we see with the Tech 10s. It's not gonna be fully removable or anything, but it does allow you to get a nice tight fit with the Velcro up against your leg. It does have a gaiter for any waterproofing to get out, and it's got 3D mesh inside of there just to make it a little bit more protective. Have you ever been someone at the track or out riding trails and you go to use Velcro that is attached to the buckles themselves? You tend to bunch up a lot on the Velcro itself. It makes it a little bit easier for on and off when you're out there at the track or at the trails going out for a nice little rip. I'll close up these buckles and then we can take a nice peek at the back. Another key part that is different from the Crossair to the Crossair X, the X gets this nice large reinforcement panel that helps, again, stopping with the ankle hyperflexing, hyperextending. You get a little bit more reinforcement, but this is a nice hard TPU piece on the back side. It's also a nice little calf protector. If you fall off, if you hit the pegs, or when you're slipping off or something like that, you can get nice little reinforcements there. Switching over to the medial sides, a couple things to call out. Nice streamlined profile compared to the other side, because again, you're gonna be gripping the bike with it. It does use a large TPR panel up at the top for a nice grip and nice traction on there. But what I really think comes in handy is these little grip panels that are built into the side of them. I think you're usually gripping a little bit more right here on the ankle, so that grabs onto the frame, that grabs onto the side of the bike just a little bit easier than this top half does. But I like that they're including both, just in case it is something that you're gripping with. And you even have a replaceable panel down here at the base just to get a little bit more grip reinforcement down there. Taking a look at the sole, really cool design to the sole. One thing I want to talk about, it is extremely grippy. It's going to be something that really grips on there. More of an MX style sole than say like an Enduro style sole, but it is a thermo molded rubber sole throughout. It is shank reinforced. You do have a ridge here that will help lock into the pegs when you're out there ripping, and reinforcement panels and shifter panels just when you're shifting on there. If you're grabbing the rear brake, you get a little bit more grip and tack on there. But I like that they went and actually redid a lot of the sole on these boots before coming to market, just to make them a little bit more tackier. You know, listening to the riders out there like Anthony Cairoli and Malcolm Stewart, you get a little bit more reinforcement on that, and that's their feedback directly from them. I know Cairoli specifically worked with the predecessor on this one in the Tahoe boots, which were more slim and streamlined. Didn't do so well, but I think these Crossair X's are going to do solid for anybody out there looking for the maximum amount of protection from SIDI. Maybe the Crossair regular versions just weren't enough impact protection. The Crossair X now crosses into that line of offering maximum amount of protection, sleek profile with a lot of the features that SIDI learned the Crossfire 3 did very well with. So the Crossair X is going to sit above the Crossfire 3 and just offering a different option, a little bit more streamlined, lighter weight boot in their line, and I am all for it. I think SIDI did a great job with these boots, made in Italy, $600, coming in with a few different colorways out there as well. But if you have any more questions about these, click that info button. That's going to take you over to the product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about the new Crossair X's. If you still have questions after that, or if you have questions on sizing, you're just trying to nail down the right one, or which option within SIDI's line is right for you, give our customer service agents a call. They're all riders, happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and checking out the all-new SIDI Crossair X Boots. I'm Pat. I'll see you in the next video.